Hey guys, welcome back. I'm doing a new little project involving some necklaces, so I'll be going through this in this video, so stay tuned. So first of all, I'm starting off with the tablet necklace, and I'm using Monster Clay, and Monster Clay is a wax-based clay. It doesn't go hard, so it's really only useful if you're going to mold things and even practicing. It is a medium strength, not the soft or the hard. So I have a video that goes through Monster Clay. I'll try and remember to link it down below. I also have a couple of videos with the silicons and resins that I use, so I'll try and remember to link that too. So I'm just adding in some details with some dental tools that you can just find on eBay. It's nothing special. And I'm just going along and just doing whatever I feel fits. It's nothing, I had no particular pattern to this, so I just thought of a ancient sort of tablet that I wanted to replicate in a necklace form. So once all the details are on, I then go over with a toothbrush just to add a sort of stone effect. You can also use some foils for this effect as well. So here's a little tablet piece ready to be cast. So the second piece is more of a stone. It has elemental symbols in the middle of the stone. And it's sort of a throwback to my ball jointed doll characters, so they each have a element which they can control. So these are more of the elemental stones that go with them, but this is for humans. So I originally wanted a circle that went around the elemental symbol, so I tried the carving a circle, but I wasn't really happy with it, so I decided to do a raised circle and then carve out the elemental symbols each one. So really easy to make a raised surface. I made a little worm and stuck it on, and then I gave it some texture using that same toothbrush, and I also gave it a few dints as well, so it looked like it was a bit older and had been through some things. Okay, so here are the two little pieces ready to be molded and cast in resin. So I'm making a really quick mold box here, nothing special. I'm just using some hot glue to stick these pieces down to a piece of Perspex. And then I'll be using a little cup, as you can see, to use for my mold box, and they're really handy when it's small enough to use a cup. And I'm just cutting the top off using a really sharp Stanley knife. It is very sharp, so just be careful when you're cutting things like that and make sure you put the cap back on. And then you can see how it fits perfectly around the pieces, and then I'll be using some hot glue to secure that and make it airtight. So just make sure that there are no holes, otherwise your silicone will end up all over the bench, and you don't want that because it's very expensive. Okay, so here's the silicone mold all poured. It's a pretty simple process, just pouring the silicone for this in particular, but sometimes it can get very tricky. And I'm just taking off the mold box and cleaning it up a little bit, and you can see how it has little holes there. I used repurposed molds. I just cut them up and put them at the bottom of the thing, and then poured silicone over the top. So I'm just cut opening the sides of the mold. You should really be cutting some keys in, so it's kind of like a zigzag pattern, so all that silicone fits in together. But you know, these aren't really, they're very small little projects, so it's not too necessary. So here's the resin all poured in, and it is cured, so it's nice and hard. And these are the first pulls that I've done, and they turned out perfectly. I'll just have to just process the top of it so I can make it look a bit better and a bit more fluid, like it's supposed to be part of the piece. Okay, starting off painting the stones, and I'm using this neutral grey in chroma acrylic paints, and I'm just loading up the stone with that grey paint so it has a nice coverage and there's no gaps or anything. I'll be putting 3 layers of paint on these, 2 grey and 1 black wash, so it will look really cool. And I'm also putting on a grey layer to start on the tablets as well, because I wanted to give it a bit more depth so it's not just brown, all brown, you know. So undertones are pretty interesting things. When you put a different undertone, you get a different look to it. Okay, so putting on that black wash, and it is watered down acrylic paint, just so it runs into all of the details and it really brings out everything that you've sculpted. So once that wash is dry, I'll then go back over with that grey paint, and not too heavy because I still want that black to come out underneath this grey paint, but definitely want to put the grey back on so it looks more stone-like. And then we can set it aside to dry. So once it's dry, I'll then go in with some black paint, and I will just bring out those elemental symbols that I have dremeled into the resin pieces. When you're dremeling resin, it's very, very important that you do wear a mask because resin particles can be quite toxic. So these pieces, once they have been painted and dried, I have applied a matte varnish over the top just to protect the paintwork. And moving on to the tablets, I'm using this gold oxide as a second layer of paint, and it is a really nice sandy brown colour. I didn't want it to be brown, I wanted to have a bit more of a sandy tone to it. So this is a really, really nice colour, and the grey undertone really helped just make it look a bit different. And once that layer of paint is dry, I'll then go over all the little details with some raw umber brown paint, and that just really brings out everything else that I've sculpted as well. Okay, so here's what we've got so far. We have 4 elemental stones. Each one is a water, air, earth and fire. And then we have 2 relic tablet talismans as well that will be made into a necklace. So for the stones, I want to be using some moss, and it's just like a faux moss that's a flocking powder. And the thing about flocking powder is really good is when you add your glue, you can just dip your piece into the flocking powder, and it really just sticks to it really nicely, and it covers all of the glue. The glue that I'm using is just a tacky fabric glue that I use on all of my resin pieces. So here's what we have so far. Okay, for the cord, I'm using some hemp rope, and I've used kind of different pieces of hemp rope as well. So this is the thicker one, and I've also used a thinner one as well. And then I'm only adding a few little beads to these because I didn't want to take away from the pendant itself. So some small little wooden beads and just some little tribal looking beads I thought looked really nice. And it is attached by a little eye pin thing and a hook, so you can easily take it on and off, but it does slip over your head, so whatever works for you. And here's what it looks like so far. That's the finished one. And this is the same deal with the tablet pieces. This is the smaller string, and I'll be adding small beads to it as well. Nothing special, I only added a few because again I didn't want to take away from the pendant bit. And by the time this video comes up, hopefully it comes up, because I'm having a bit of trouble with these pictures of these relic things. It just keeps crashing and driving me insane. But they should be up in my Etsy shop, so definitely check it out to see if there is any left. Alright, that's it for me today, guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you have any requests, leave it in the comments down below. And you can also check me out on Instagram and Facebook at Creatures of Nat. And don't forget to subscribe. And I'll see you next time. Bye!